us.
Now they are. Now we're here.
They are?
Hello. Hi. We're here.
Oh, well, that's good.
We made it.
Well, they can't see us yet. See, John does this whole transition thing. It's like he's got this OCD of it has to go this way, and this is when I switch flip the video, and then they can see us and stuff.
I basically want to be on camera as little as possible. So we transition to camera shots once the show genuinely begins. And then we transition off of it when we move to like Patreon thanks and ads at the end of the show. That's it. That's the whole methodology of it.
So, John, I don't know if you saw or not, but MacGyver picked up the Mass Effect collection on Steam.
Well, good.
First time playing it.
I think he'll enjoy it. I hope.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure because it's good stuff.
So yeah, MacGyver, enjoy. Play a Lady Shep. Lady Shep is best Shep. And have a good time. And romance Liara. Other than that, I won't tell you what to do with your playthrough.
That Liara part, it depends.
Don't you dare.
It varies. Because it can get really compelling later on.
He already started Dude Shep.
Oh, no, not even next time. Just start over.
Yeah, just start over. The amount of times I've seen that initial, like, Private Jenkins. Oh, he got shot. Whoops, where? Like, so many times.
Man, you totally think that he's going to be doing so good, too, because, he's like, brand new recruit, super excited for fighting and stuff.
His name's Private L. Jenkins. You're like, man, this is going to go good for this guy. The Jenkins family, well known for
Jenkins in space,
not just biting it quick.
Definitely not.
Do you wish that had been a trend that had kicked in on video gaming? That there was always like Jenkins became this like referential in a bunch of games, and it's always like the equivalent of Star Trek wearing a red shirt,
I'd actually be pretty cool with that.
I don't know how many red shirts cause damage to other people, though, right?
Yeah,
like Leroy's almost like the quintessential worse than red shirt thing, because it's not only I'm going to run in and die, it's I'm going to run in and die and get everyone else in trouble too at the same time. That's his whole deal.
Yeah, that's true.
I enjoy that MacGyver did the Wilhelm scream, because that's the other quintessential thing that sticks out from all the Star Wars stuff.
So, okay, big question for you. Wilhelm scream. At this point, is it good to put it in, or is it bad to put it in?
Depends on the context of the movie. If you have a silly, fun, over-the-top movie, it's always fine to put in. It's a great one to put in. But if it's a serious, like, superhero film kind of thing, to me, that's weird. It detracts from a scene.
Yeah, it just totally pulls you out of it.
It's just, to me, it's... The question you have to ask yourself if you're going to put the Wilhelm in is, are you okay with the audience suddenly coming to a moment where they realize they're watching a movie?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Like Lego Movie, Wilhelm scream with everybody who falls down, perfectly good. I don't know if that happened. That doesn't happen, I'm pretty sure. But just kind of like...
It would be entertaining if there was like 7 or 8 people who died at the same time and they all had Wilhelm screams going at like a cappella, like different ones at the
And now they do the thing where it's like, okay, well, we want to include it, but we're going to disguise it in such a way that it's hard to tell that it's the Wilhelm. And I don't know what that necessarily accomplishes beyond just, well, we checked a box in our fun little insider info, and now we're good to go.
Hey guys, we have the Wilhelm scream too.
All the movie trivia people out there who do trivia shows will really enjoy now that there's a Wilhelm scream in that.
Yeah, it's like how people were mind blown when R2-D2 was in all of the new Star Trek movies. Getting like sucked out into space, and he's just like a little bit of debris because ILM did the effects and everything. It's like R2-D2 is in Star Trek, everybody.
Yeah, but I can see why people got a little more excited than that, than, like, we put the Wilhelm in another movie.
Yeah. True. Anyways, do you guys want to talk about like actual World of Warcraft stuff?
World.
Of Warcraft.
Thank you. I didn't know where I was going. I was like, well, I've waited this long. I might as well just wait longer.
I was really wondering if you were going to finish that or not.
You know, so was I. I wasn't sure. Once you hit a certain point, you're like, well, I don't know. If I finish it, it just... At this point, it feels like maybe it's too soon. Maybe it hasn't gone far enough. Spencer saved me, basically, is what I'm saying. He saved me from a hole that was just nothing but silence, and we never started the show.
Well, technically, we still haven't started the show yet, but we'll get there.
I mean, I'm recording it. Thanks for reminding me again this week, Ben.
I was about to, actually. Because I'm starting over the audio recording, since I got that, pre-show stuff to add the funnies at the end. But yeah, I'm going to jump in with stuff like, welcome to Azeroth Roundtable, episode 274. My name is Ben Bumhofer. It is Friday night. I'm excited for the weekend. I hope you are too. With me, as always, is John Jagger. How's it going, John?
Hello, Ben. It's Friday night here in Azeroth, and I'm happy to be joining you at the round table. I've had coffee. I'm caffeinated. I have a bigger bit of distance between when I fell asleep and when we went and had dinner, so I'm feeling great.
Well, that's good.
I'm feeling okay.
Great or okay? Like, did you just downgrade in that?
I'm all right. I'm here.
Oh God.
We're good.
Stop talking. You're gonna go to bed in a couple seconds.
So it's doing fine. I'm fine. Hello. But it's not just you, and it's not just me. We are joined by our special guest this week, Spencer Downey. Hello.
Hey, Spencer.
Hello. Hi.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks. How are Ben and John this evening?
Well, John is rapidly declining into crap.
I see. Okay.
I'm pretty good though.
Good. Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me on. It's
Well,
always a nice pleasure.
Well, John said not to tell you this because he didn't want you to get a big head, but we really like you.
Oh, well, that's kind of you to say. Thank you.
You're
See,
welcome.
John, I told you to be okay.
It's. I mean, where do you land on the thanks when it's, not something you actually said, but you don't disagree with it, and you're getting thanked for it?
Yeah, I guess that works.
So, you're welcome?
I like that.
Poignantly a question.
Yeah. So, other things that I like that happened to me this week that
was it? That was the transition?
That's the transition. We're jumping right in.
Other things.
Okay, John, I think that you know me well enough to know if I were to ask, what's my favorite raid encounter in World of Warcraft, or at least the favorite raid overall?
Molten Core.
That would be wrong. I thought we were friends. Wow. Well, I'll give you a hint, John. It has to do with a castle that a certain wizard used to own. You lost your turn. Spencer, do you have any idea?
That would be Karazhan. Ben.
Oh my gosh, you're right.
Oh, it's crazy. The wizard thing. I mean, it's complicated. There's a lot of those, although I think we call them mages inside World of Warcraft. I'm not sure, but it's just, it's one of those things.
Yeah, I might have a little D&D on the mind right now.
So I was leveling up a character right before the show, so I understand.
Nefarian's Lair.
Yes.
No, it was Karazhan.
Oh!
Or Karazhan, or Karazhan, or Karazhan. I don't know, whatever people want to call it.
Rahazan?
Yeah, that works.
I want to call it Kara.
Yeah, you can do that. I'll allow it.
She's a nice person.
Or Kara.
That's Supergirl, so that works too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But well, the whole point is that we've talked about the new updated version in passing before, because John and I had never actually experienced it until Wednesday, because my raid team and I, since we're really close to the new expansion and it's the summer and only 5 people showed up to raid, we ended up doing Karazhan, John, and I've got to tell you, it's freaking amazing. And that's the show. Thanks, Spencer. Thank you very much for joining us.
Wicked.
Wow, did
It's
it.
so much fun.
Nailed
Thank you
it.
so much for having me on.
We covered it all. It's
Yep.
all been done.
So that was your first time through Karazhan.
Yeah.
Or the new one, the revamp.
Exactly. And the thing is I never actually finished like the attunement for it. We went in on Mythic to, get the whole flow of it. We didn't break it up and everything like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, there were multiple times throughout the whole like experience and I'm just like, dang, this is great, or that's creative, or I love the new look of this. And like my mind was blown through the whole thing. And then once you start, going upstairs, and then my mind just like literally exploded and there's just brains everywhere with how like amazing that whole thing is. I mean, holy crap, John, I can't believe we haven't done it yet. You need to see this because it is so great.
So I hear. This is what people have said.
Yeah, it is really great. Like so much fun. And so, okay, here's the thing. It kind of got my mind going into, there's been a lot of really cool, neat stuff that's been added for Legion, whether it's like environments or raids or dungeons or whatever. And, Legion's coming to a close soon. And, well, we have talked about how this is, one of the best expansions that have come out. I think it's time to maybe highlight some of the really great, cool, creative things that actually came into World of Warcraft this year. Well, and last year, I guess. And the year before, I don't know. I don't remember when things.
How many years of Legion has it been? Who knows?
It's been like 2 weeks. That's what it feels like.
So before we move on past the Karazhan thing, I want to know what was like your well, first of all, which opera boss did you get?
We got it wasn't West Side Story. It was, shoot, I can't remember right now.
With the Murloc and the
yeah, it wasn't.
yeah.
I wanted that one because
Yeah.
I've heard about it. And then when I got hit with the wand during raid once, and I was a Murloc, and I did dance. Then I did the dance from it and everything. And oh, that's so cool.
was it the Beauty and the Beast one with the pot
Yes.
and the yeah?
That's what it was.
That was
I
cool.
couldn't
That's
remember.
cool.
But
Yeah.
oh man, that was really cool. And the whole floor was on fire because we totally didn't know what we were doing. And
Yeah.
it was
And then the second one was, did you have like a highlight moment? I know for me, like when you show up in the library and the library's upside down, and then you go down the hallway towards Medivh's dad's room, and it's all like spiraled.
yeah.
Old, like that's just crazy
cool.
to me.
After you finish the chess match, and
Yep.
then when the pathway builds as you're walking down it,
Yeah.
that was just so cool looking.
Yeah.
Like it blew me away. Fight wise, I gotta say, like it's a really kind of throwaway fight and everything, but fighting the mana worm, just like that whole experience was so cool. Like I was totally blown away. Like I get there and drop down and everything. I'm like, okay, cool, and like, yeah, I was just super giddy from all that and everything. It was so cool,
Yeah.
really
Cool.
John, you got to
All
see this. It's great.
So I hear.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Really cool stuff is in this game. And like I said, a lot of it has been added for Legion. So what's some of the really neat things that kind of caught you off guard, surprised you, or just, really just kind of, maybe shattered your expectations of what a World of Warcraft expansion could do or would do?
Is this me? Is this John? Is this John?
Either or.
I don't know. I'm woefully unprepared.
That is also a broad question. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I understand that.
Well, let me just jump in. Then
Okay.
I'll keep talking for a little bit.
Right. This would have been a good question before the Karazhan thing.
Yeah, sorry.
That's fine.
I just had to share because it's just really cool. And but okay, so one of the neat things that I really enjoyed was like specifically the Mage Order Hall. Going through getting the quests, for Hello Malorn and all the stuff that went into that was really cool. But just walking in there and having it be like a total, magical experience, with like the the libraries and the books and the music that was. It's not the Dalaran music, but it's like a variation of it, and it is like so much better than the music from Dalaran. It was one of those things where I kind of walked in, I'm like, holy crap, this is totally a mage thing. And I mean, it built up that class fantasy. It made me feel like I was actually so much more than just, a player of WoW. It made me feel like I was part of a world. And I mean, granted, the fact that, you become the leader and stuff like that is cool story wise, but even more so, it really felt like it totally fleshed everything out for me. Like a ton more than I've ever had in any of my questing stuff.
Yeah, I'd say order halls are definitely cool. You definitely hit something neat there. I now have, I think, 7 characters that have gone through the order hall campaigns, and they're all really cool. The most recent one I did was Warlock, and it's neat and fun, and you get like your own planet. It's kind of crazy as far as that stuff goes. The mage one is next on my list for character that I'm putting up, so I'll be checking that out soon. But I did all the healing class ones first. It's one of those features to me that just that they really hit the nail on the head as far as the feel of the lore of it. I definitely know that early in the expansion it felt very grindy, which was a bit of a downfall. But as far as the quest content went and the story content went, it was cool. It definitely made you feel a part of something, and I liked having a place I can sort of go back to where only my class are in. I can sort of hang out with all the other druids, which is what I like doing, and seeing who has which forms on, because everyone's walking around in their different beast forms, which is really fun.
That is actually really cool about that place.
Yeah, so I dig that a lot. As far as favorite features for this expansion, I'm going to lean more towards something that sort of stayed consistent for me. I mean, world quests are definitely up there, but I would say mythic pluses have been really fun this expansion, really successful this expansion. Because we lost 10-man raiding going into this, and so I needed something challenging I could do with small groups. And Mythic Plus has sort of filled that void, where it's like you sort of had that nice, tight-knit small group, and we sort of ended up in a situation where there was now going to be, I think 30 to 35 people inside a raid team that's active regularly, and you get 30 people into the raid regularly, and I mean, at this stage of the expansion, you're getting like 15 or 14 because it's kind of dying off towards the end. But you needed something that really filled that smaller group team kind of oriented thing. And Mythic Pluses have sort of sustained that for me throughout a lot of this expansion. And then it also birthed into this whole MDI thing, where now we have PvE esports happening. And that's kind of exploded and been a really cool thing. And it's something that gets a lot of viewership. And I think that's great. So I think Mythic Pluses to me are one of my favorite things that they've invented in this expansion.
Yeah, I not to just necessarily piggyback off of what Ben said, but I think this expansion is the one that showed me, for years we heard from Blizzard, like, it's too hard to do class content. It's content that only a fraction of the people see. Like, we'd rather do content that everybody gets to see. And it's, you don't want to pit developers against each other or anything like that. But at the same time, I feel like the Legion devs came in and were like, oh yeah, we'll show you, because seriously, they convinced me, almost, I would say to a fault, because it's actually impacted how I feel about the game going forward. It's one of my areas of concern. They showed me that focusing on the class and making your class feel unique and cool made for a better expansion for me. They really sold me on, no, identifying as a rogue is more important than identifying as a horde or alliance or your own individual hero doing your own individual thing. Like, leaning into that fantasy of saying, no, I'm a rogue, these are the things I do. And then when you get on an alt, no, I'm a monk, these are the things I do, or I'm a warrior. Like, that to me was definitely the highlight, because it made me not just care about my character, my main, it made me care about all of my characters in a way that I hadn't before. It was always like, well, there's my main, and then there's the alts I play. This, all of a sudden, all my alts felt like they had personality, and they had a reason for being there, and they had a cool thing that they did, and that was all just very exciting. To kind of build off and add one of my own, I think artifact weapons were one of my favorite things. You always wonder what's going to be the thing when I hit max level. that's going to keep me compelled in playing. And while at the end of the day, when you hit I'm just adding artifact power after artifact power after artifact power, it's certainly not as interesting as it was when you were unlocking the cool new abilities within the weapon. It made it to where I could log in, do a couple of world quests, and not feel like I got nothing for it. Not feel like, well, I got gold. And feel like I did something. And it progressed something. It made me powerful in some way. And so, to me, that was very much a system that I liked. It being a weapon was really cool. Again, this is a selfish area. As a rogue, it can be very hard to find 2 good weapons.
Yeah.
And that very much limits your power. So knowing that your weapons will always be decent was a very nice thing in the expansion. So I would say those are the 2 things I like the best. And they're 2 things I'm going to miss a lot because they're both going away.
Well,
go ahead.
No, go right ahead. I was moving.
I was going to say that the artifact weapons going away in BFA is actually a scary thing for me because I don't want to go back to being in a raid and trying to get a weapon drop and competing with people for a weapon drop. Because weapons, as you said, are like the quintessential thing that empowers your character. If there's no other item you can get that will improve the power, the character level power, and how easy the game feels to play and how well you perform, other than a weapon. And so having just saying, here's a good weapon for everyone, and you can power it up by just doing regular stuff as opposed to relying on drops, was a really, really nice feature in this expansion.
That's something that actually I really hope that they somehow incorporate going forward. Obviously well, not saying obviously because we haven't done the entire expansion for Battle for Azeroth yet, but it doesn't seem like that's going to be something that is going to be happening in the next expansion. If they were to actually pull, like an artifact weapon or something along those lines moving forward in future expansions, do you think that they'd be able to actually do it in kind of the same way, considering the big deal with Legion was the fact that we had the artifacts? It's like these are mythical weapons that everybody's getting and, sucking up energy and everything like that. Like, would they be able to implement an artifact weapon 2.0 going forward?
I almost hope that crafting would fill that gap. It's kind of what I'm hoping for with BFA, is that they just make the craftable weapons and craftable gear strong enough that everyone has a baseline they can get to. And then when there is future patch content that comes out, when it comes to future raids, things like that, they release, as they did with this expansion, some sort of upgraded version that you can improve your weapon. So, essentially, if you want to be someone who can just walk into normal raiding, every time the next raid comes out, they should buff the previous weapons and craftable gear to be equivalent to just letting you walk in on normal to that raid content. Is what I think should be, something that would just help players catch up, help players stay involved in the game, and take that edge off. Because that was the edge for me always, right? I just leveled this character up, I just hit max level, or I haven't played in however long it is. And there's people who take long breaks, or they just don't have the time to commit to the game. Give them some way where they can just make themselves relevant to current content, not relevant to heroic or relevant to mythic or whatever it is, but at least get into the current raid content. I really hope the crafting system helps that along.
That would actually, I don't know. I have a history with not liking crafting very much, and if they actually had some sort of a weapon upgrade or something like that would actually go into this, I think that it would actually be a benefit for crafting. But if it was kind of like the baseline weapon and then you do level in some sort of way, I think that'd be great. I mean, it essentially makes a market for a weapon. I mean, but then you have to worry about like cost of it and stuff like that. But I mean, if you've got guildies, you should be able to, find someone who can make something, or at least, get a decent amount and stuff. And with everybody out there trying to, sell the initial one or something, that's actually a really good idea. I would like to see something like that going forward because, since weapons are such an important, factor into everything, having, free access to a good one as soon as, new content comes out just kind of makes sense. This way you're not actually, actively crippling your heavy duty raiders or, mythic dungeon runners and things like that.
And I mean, I feel kind of bad throwing this out there as well, because again, I don't mean to just throw out things that are gone next expansion, but I really liked legendary items in this expansion. I get that that's a controversial area. I don't think it was perfect. Let me be clear on that. I don't think it was implemented in the best way possible. But I think it was a trial feature that could have been implemented and improved upon instead of just dropped, because the chance of getting a legendary probably got me to log in on a regular basis more than anything else in this game. So already it extended my playtime in WoW more than anything else this expansion. Had that not been a feature in this, I may not have played for the past 6 or 7 months, maybe even longer. I may have just stopped the sub, because the thing that when I looked at the WoW login screen and said, maybe I should get in and do it, was to maybe I should get in and get a legendary. I actually finally just got my best one.
Nice.
So it was a flawed feature. Every time I mention legendary, someone's always like, well, here's why it was bad. I get why it was bad, but it got me logging in. And the other thing it did is it changed the way I played. You know, WoW has a talent system. It has a talent system that's designed to allow us to kind of quickly and easily change talents now. Didn't used to be that way. Now it feels like it's encouraged. And legendaries, much like in Diablo, were a nice way to say, hey, have you tried playing your character this way? See what you think. And I feel like that sort of thing could have been leaned into, given players a unique way to play. I think it was a few episodes back where I said, I think one of the biggest hurdles for me personally as a player is I love World of Warcraft. I love my character. I love the universe. I love the story. The gameplay still feels like a 10-plus year old game. Mm-hmm. I don't think the gameplay is as compelling as it could be. I look at modern games. This isn't necessarily a fault. We've been playing this game for a long time. Modern games play a little better, and it's easier to get me to do repetitive things over and over again if the gameplay feels fun and compelling. And I feel like, again, with tweaks and changes and all of that, the legendary system could have encouraged different ways to play, keep it fresh, keep it new, keep it exciting. They're dropping it. I'm a little sad about it, but it was at least a cool feature for me that kept me in the game in a time where I wouldn't have been this expansion.
As much as the random chance drop is going away for legendaries, so you can't find them anymore, the one thing that they are, and this is something Ian hinted at in one of the Q&As like probably 3 months ago, was that the Azerite armor pieces are going to have traits on them, and the traits on them could very well be similar, if not more powerful, than the current legendary bonuses that you get. So there's a chance, John. There's a chance that they will throw crazy fun things onto Azerite armor as bonuses for people that will change the way people play. And you can not just put 1 point into those, you can put 3. So, as much as the Fire Mage bracers were really, really powerful, you could take the same effect and multiply it by 3 if you wanted to, because there's 3 pieces you can wear. So if all 3 pieces get that, hey. So it's one of those, things where I feel like, yes, they closed the door on the hey, I want to log in and do world quests and do a dungeon and do a mythic and do, some raiding, because every time I open a chest, I get a chance at getting a legendary, and that's exciting. They're taking that away. The one thing they are keeping is they're leaving the door open that little bit to go, we could still take these cool legendary bonuses and put them on some gear if we wanted to. That's what the Azerite stuff does, right?
And that's exciting. I would definitely say, if you said, John, what are the things you're most excited about for Battle for Azeroth coming up? I would say it's kind of those things. It's little things like that. It's how is that system going to work? It has seemed incredibly overly complicated to me when it was explained by devs. I'm like, I don't understand what you're saying. I kind of get it, but you keep saying it's going to be these 3 slots and you're going to do the, and I was just like, okay, I'll figure it out. You guys are good with visual representations of how things work. I'll figure it out. We did the what was it? The where you can pick the light and dark traits on the runes and all of that.
Like,
That was another one of those where they were like, "Here's how it works," and I read it and I was like, I don't get it. I don't understand what you're saying to me. And then I saw it in game and I was like, okay, I get it. I know how it works. I just needed to see your UI, present it to me, and now I understand it. So I think the islands, I think the war fronts have a chance to all be cool things. So it's not all negative for me. It is scary because a lot of things I like are disappearing in this expansion, but it's certainly not all negative.
Okay, so little bit of inspiration kind of popped into my head. What if at some point in the future we get a legendary slot, or like a legendary or 2 slots or something like that? So all that drops is, whether it's random or I think it works better if it's random, where whatever drops, it's just the extra effect. This way you're not having to swap out gear, replace certain, pieces, whatnot, but you have like 2 actual just extra little bits, like how, we used to have a paladin would have the book or the vellum or whatever that they'd have to have. And mages used to have like a wand slot, and there was an ammo slot for hunters. Just add another slot or 2 on there, and then as you're going through the course of the expansion, just weird, cool, crazy effects happen that just accentuate abilities and spells and things like this. So it's going to be kind of more random and everything like Diablo, and they're items, so you can go ahead and switch them back and forth and change them depending on if, like, say it's a big heavy AoE fight and you're a shaman and you have one legendary effect that you can put on where if you're doing melee, just a chain lightning happens and it just goes to everything around no matter what, or something like that, or a big huge thing is lightning storm happens or whatever. Fire mages, maybe they get extra combusty and the fire spreads more or something along those lines. So this way you still have the like the random drop aspect of it, but it's not so tied to a specific piece of gear that you're like, oh well, I'm breaking my tier set. Well, okay, I know tier sets are gone anyway, but it's like this expansion where I got a new trinket that was awesome. It was a legendary, except in order to equip that, I had to find another pair of shoes. So it's like, okay, I don't have another good pair of shoes with me. Now I have to hunt for one before I can really swap to be effective, just things like that. This way, you're playing around with your legendary effects. You can swap them whenever you want, and it gives you a lot more variety in what's actually happening.
I feel a little bit. I mean, I like the idea of. I'm just going to call it a charm slot because I'll just call them charms. Oh. Because like you said, they had relic slots for paladins and all that kind of stuff back in the day.
Relics, thank you for what it was.
It's all good. It's been a few years, a lot of years. So I kind of feel like they leaned in that direction when they started doing glyphs back in the day, and they're like, hey, we'll let you put glyphs onto your talents to make your talents do different things. And they're like, well, we're going to kind of get rid of the glyph system, but we're going to let you go into your spell book and put glyphs on your spells in your spell book. Mm-hmm. And I always felt like the glyph system was a strange thing to implement. It was cool because it let me do different things with my tree form and stuff like that, and that was fun. But I agree they didn't take full advantage of it, and it would be interesting if they had something similar to that. It would just be about how accessible those charms are, whether or not they are from a vendor or they are crafted or they are how you find them. Because the number one complaint people get about legendaries is, I just can't find the best one, right? I could never get my best one. And you're like, okay, well, if it's a random chance drop or a boss mob drop, or you're crafting something like the Dark Moon cards and it's just a random card you get each time and you're just never finding that one card that you need to complete your deck, that can be frustrating. So you need to sort of figure out how the things drop. I always like the idea of, that's what I loved about set bonuses so much, is any way you can change the way someone plays their class is fantastic. Mm-hmm. That happened a lot with Druids this expansion, where there were set bonuses that deeply encouraged you to play your class differently. And some of them were play your class worse. So you didn't use those set bonuses, which was a really big problem, where it's like, I'm wearing tier from 2 raids ago. Why? Because this tier is better than that one. And you're like, That's not good. That's not good at all. But that's it's anyway, as John sort of had referenced, you can find a way to encourage people to give more variety in how they play their class and keep it more stimulating is really good. So
Yeah,
I kind of
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I kind of like that.
Oh, okay. You totally set me off with the glyphs, man. Because boy, is that a system that I like in theory and hate the execution of. We were just saying, I was just saying, like, oh, they'll show me on their UI because their UI team's really good. You want to talk about a system that all of Blizzard has apparently just checked out for? It's glyphs. How to apply them, how to turn them off, how to do anything with them at all when they're turned on. Like, that system might as well be written in an alien language because it is... I was a friggin' scribe, and I didn't know what I was doing with it. I was like, I don't know. I don't know what I have. I know that my warrior has something turned on, because when I dash in, it looks like the DeLorean in Back to the Future, and that's cool, but I don't know when I put that on. I don't know how to turn it off. I don't know what to do with it. Like, it's just there. It's a part of my character now, and I just have to accept that that's the way it is. They totally just dropped that system, and I would love to see them pick it back up, but I don't think they're going to.
I have a funny glyph story, which is when the class mounts came out. The druid class mount for flying is you get this beautiful large owl form, right?
Yeah.
Well, like at the beginning of this expansion, one of the things you could buy from your order hall was a glyph that turned your flight form from the bird into like a small owl, is what you could be when you flew around. And so I was like, oh, this is cool. So I had that applied to my flight form. So I get my class mount. And I'm like, how do I mount my class mount? I keep trying to, find it in my book or like shift in it. I couldn't do it because the glyph was overriding my class mount. so I had to do the thing that you're asking about, John, which is how do I remove a glyph? Because I want to shift into the class mount form. How do I do this? And yeah, like I had to like find a certain glyph remover oil and like throw it in my spell book to get rid of the glyph on that particular talent.
That's such a bad way to do it.
It was a very strange thing to have to do, but it was just I probably spent an hour just like trying to figure out what was wrong and whether I didn't complete the quest properly or like what was happening. And I was like, there's a glyph on this thing that I put on like 4 months ago or 5 months ago. Oh my God.
Well, okay, so you bring up a point where right now I don't want to finish the Druid class hall and get the class mount because I'm a high mountain Tauren and I love the bald eagle with the antlers. So I'm like, if I get the class mount, am I going to automatically be the weird owl looking thing? Or can I switch back to my bald eagle with antlers? Because that's amazing.
Yeah, no, its flight form becomes the new flight form. That's the class mount deal.
Such a bummer because I don't want that.
But glyphs might be the way to fix it. There might be a glyph that does it, man.
Weird. Is as if that system could be really cool and useful if given a proper interface, and which it had one. Like, that was the other thing, is it used to have one. It's not like we're talking about, hey, Blizzard, can you invent a thing that's never existed before? There was literally a thing. They got rid of it for a system that is, I think, when you look at the history of World of Warcraft, perhaps one of the most un-Blizzard systems in the entire game. Like, it is the opposite of what they stand for in just about every other aspect of the game. Take it from, your least favorite expansion to your favorite. There are things that they always seem to excel at, which is, polish and UI and design and finding the fun and all of that. They may not always hit on all of those marks, but you always at least see where the effort went in. And I look at glyphs now and I'm just like, did you just give up? You were just like, yeah, we found a way to make it work. Let's all go home. I'm sick of this.
Just
we need to focus on the fishing artifact, man. That's where it's at, this expansion.
Look, the arms move if you wiggle.
That thing is cool, and I'm glad it's staying around for the next expansion. It is still good. It's not going away. It's not being depowered. When you catch fish in BFA, you can still dump the power of the fish into your rod to be able to empower up that Arclight angler thing. It's cool. That's a wicked thing.
I mark it down. This is the episode of Azeroth Roundtable where the words "dump the power of the fish into your rod" was said.
Yep.
Historical day. be grateful you were here.
Yeah, no, that's the fishing thing to me. This expansion has been cool. They went that quest chain is big. There's some really fun notes to it. That and the if you guys haven't done the Postmaster thing yet, that thing is a lot of fun.
Love
too.
the Postmaster thing. That is so
It's
much
so
fun.
well done. Yeah.
And like
they did some neat things.
all it is just the stupid little mini game afterwards. It's like, hey,
Yep.
you get a title and a pet and stuff, but have fun. And it's just it's cool. I really enjoy that quest a lot.
Yeah. You get to go and pick up the invincible mount, and then like you have to get rid of the invincible mount because he already has 3 of them or something.
Yep. Oh my gosh, I was like the absolute like fu to a player who's been forever. But I mean, everybody knows that person who that's happened to, so I get it. Man.
Yep.
And then what was it? The Mimron's head is like a basically a memorial for this person for like their other mount or whatever.
Yes. Yeah. I don't
Yeah.
remember the name of the pony, but yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
John Quest.
Johnny Awesome or whatever. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
find out what Johnny Awesome's been up to, John.
Oh yeah.
Oh
Yep.
yeah. It's great. You deliver stuff to him.
Yep.
Does he get a new Sparkle pony?
No, I don't think.
No, but you get to memorialize the Sparkle Pony.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Well,
he gets
good.
a proper send off. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a long time. It's long overdue for old Johnny Awesome.
Very true. Very true.
Oh, I didn't know that, Draven. Thank you. Draven says if John would log into his Airy Peak tune, he could do these quests.
Well, he did mention it last time we talked about this quest. I guess you
That's-
just weren't paying attention to chat.
I may have forgotten between the show. I don't log into my Alliance characters very often.
I'm curious as to how John will enjoy the mini game because the mini game is just a trivia game with a extreme edge added to it. That's
Yeah.
what the mini game is.
Well, there's 2 versions. There's the easy version, then the extreme version.
Yeah. Well, you have to do the extreme version. I mean, come on, you got to do that.
Yeah, no, the extreme version's a lot of fun.
It is. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I dug the whole. It's flavor they threw into the game late that made me really happy.
Yeah.
And the attention they're throwing towards, and this is something I was saying earlier, the attention, well, not in this, but in our show, the other show, was the attention they've thrown towards professions has been so cool this expansion. As far as quest chains go, I just started doing the engineering one. I haven't done the engineering one at all, and it's fun and ridiculous and silly. And I was saying that you essentially first start talking to this goblin who's like, man, I sunk all my investment into making weapons and building weapons because the Legion were back, and I was so excited and had all these guns that I was ready to sell, and of course artifact weapons, and everyone has artifact weapons, and so I'm left with this huge stockpile of weapons I have nothing to do with. We have to figure out. You're like, this is great. This is exactly the kind of comedy I want in my quest chain. Yeah.
Like
It was,
that's one of the greatest things about engineers is that they make so much stuff for themselves, so it only makes sense that finally it's like, I
right.
got this profitable idea, this is going to be amazing, and crap. Like one of the most expensive crafting things that you could possibly do is that, and like blacksmith. And I think that engineers have more fun. The blacksmiths really get the raw end of the deal on everything.
Yeah.
They can make armor that's good for a week.
It's good until you do anything in it, and then it is replaced. I don't know. It's hard. I like figuring out what to do with trade skills. I mean, we've devoted many episodes to how do you fix trade skills, and you know, we've had a lot of ideas, and I don't know if we've ever had any good ones, and clearly Blizzard still hasn't had any good ones. I don't know. That's probably going too far, but professions are just really, really rough. I don't like professionals either. Keep those out of the game. I want
That's right.
amateurs only. But yeah, I don't know. It's hard. I don't know what I want from it. I know what I want from it.
Them to not exist, right?
No, I think if it were up to me, professions would basically be, in World of Warcraft, what your free-to-play store would be in a free-to-play game. So, blacksmiths would be where you would go to get cosmetic looking weapons for transmog. Leather workers would be where you would get custom leather pieces. Cloth, same thing. If we put in a cool top hat and everybody wants to transmog into a top hat, that was made by a tailor. Scribes would actually have a glyph system. It would maybe have a menu, and you could maybe pick things easily and apply things easily to your skills.
And you needed to.
But that's where you could put cool things. Like, I've always wanted the, I think it's in the Scarlet Monastery, where when you kill guys, just piles of gold explode out of them when they die. I've always thought that would be an incredibly fun rogue glyph.
That's something that you can do. Well, you can like drop it for other like party members and stuff.
No, I know that. I want it as a glyph when I kill somebody. That's the effect that rogues get when they kill somebody. Gold goes flying everywhere.
But you have to like every single pile of gold.
No, it wouldn't be. This is visual. This is not.
Okay. Just making sure.
It's fine.
Just making it clear.
To me, I would want professions to not be, because the problem is they always try to make it useful. They always try to make it like, no, this is going to be the one where you're going to want to craft items. And at the end of the day, in a world where we have Raid Finder and Dungeon Finder and Group Finder in general, it's so easy to outgear those professions.
Yeah.
That they just end up feeling worthless. So make it the place where you put all the fun, cool stuff that people are going to want to make, and encourage people to go there for that. I mean, that's what I would want to do. Like, if you want to say, John, what would you buy from a blacksmith? A weapon that looks cool that I would want to transmog my weapons to look like. You know, that's what I would want from that. So yeah. That's my take, but everybody knows I'm a transmog fan. Like, I'm in this world to create a character, to get to feel like I'm that character, and to role play it a bit. So for me, cosmetic type stuff is huge. And I know that's not the case for everybody.
Now, along the lines of the role play and you're in here to play the character, how would you feel, John? This is kind of a crazy idea. How would you feel about profession-based order halls? So when you were like, I'm going to go see a tailor, you went to the tailoring order hall, and it was just a whole bunch of tailors who'd set up shop. And you got to meet with different people and figure out who had different patterns and barter with people about things. It was just a room full of tailors that you got to hang out with. They all had tables they could sit down at, things like that.
I don't hate the idea, but it depends. Again, it depends on what they're making for me. Because if it's like the current method of like, here's gear that you will find useless, I'd be like, all right, well, that was maybe a little too much attention to this thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think EverQuest 2 had like crafting guilds where you would go into a building with nothing but your own like crafters in that guild, and it was like, we're gonna build a shop here and we're gonna make shoes. It's gonna be nothing but shoemakers as far as the eye can see. And like it was kind of neat. It was kind of neat to feel like you were a part of a I don't know, crafting guild. We just make stuff.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. I mean, here's the thing. Like, one of the things that I get excited about for like crafting and stuff would be, like, oh, I can make a pets, which was really weird as an alchemist this expansion when you can transmute a pet.
What about transmuting meat to pants? You feel good about meat to pants?
Good. I enjoyed that. It's great because that made more sense to me, because it's like, okay, I'm transmuting leather, or something along those lines. But like taking all these random things and being like, okay, cool, transmute, and then you get a pulsating sack, and then some sort of pet comes out, and sometimes it's this horrible, horrible freak of nature and monster. But hey, it's cool because it's alchemy. That's what you do, right? I mean, some people give an arm and a leg to be able to do something like that.
Yeah, and they end up with some sort of weird arm-leg pet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I mean, like pets, toys, transmog, heck, how great would it be for scribes to be able to like create titles for people? I mean, John has gone on record saying that the title is the easiest thing to put in the game.
Yeah, again, another thing I don't know it's true, but it seems true because it seems like text. And text seems pretty easy to put in the game. I don't know. It's just like, come on. Look, I get you want to make a bunch of cool systems and all of that, but at the same time, like,
Make some of the most.
how hard is it to put in a title to encourage people to maybe do a quest line or to feel like I got something more than gear that I'm gonna disenchant in 2 levels out of this? You know, it, like, to me, maybe they're afraid it just builds up too quick over too many expansions. Maybe there is a cap to that. I don't know, but it feels like if you said, John, what would you rather get as a cap reward to a quest chain? Would you rather get an item that's going to up your item level for, by 5 until you go to the next zone and replace it? Or would you rather have a title that says you're the dragon sorcerer? Like, I'll take the title. Like, I might use that title. I might need to be a dragon sorcerer at some point. I don't know. I haven't ruled it out yet. So I think that's the sort of stuff that, when you say, John, what drives you in the game? That's the stuff that drives me. I'm not about I need 5 more item levels and I need to optimize this stat and I need to make sure that this is maxed out. That's not fun for me. So I know it is for people that are, competing and racing and trying to push themselves to the highest level of the game. That's not where I'm at anymore as a player. So I just want to make my character the way I want to make my character and have a fun time and have a good time. So to me, like, that makes cosmetic, title, whatever rewards infinitely more entertaining than here's 5 more eye levels on a piece of gear that looks just like the last piece of gear you got.
What if I were to tell you that there's a title in game called The Gullible, and you get it at the end of a quest chain?
Ben, now you're intentionally pushing my buttons.
Yeah, I am.
On the other hand, I mean, at least you got a title out of that, right? Like,
Yeah.
One of the worst things they did in Legion, at least you got a title for it.
Yeah, true. So you got a reward that you'll never use, but that's okay because you've kind of, brought up the whole idea of there is always a reward that someone's not going to use, whether it's, an under itemed or an under item level piece of gear than what you have. A title that you'll never use, maybe a transmog look that you'll never use, and being able to create, a variety of rewards is incredibly challenging. But I mean, it seems like gold and gear are what's the most common. And I mean, as we're going through and leveling and everything like that, it comes down to, okay, well, I guess I'm, leveling up my item level. I mean, stats were kind of really weird and wonky when Legion came out, but that got fixed. So what's going to be the big leveling challenge and reward going forward? Is it still going to be just gold and gear, most likely?
Yeah. I imagine Azerite power, right?
Yeah, true. I keep forgetting about that. It's like, I don't know. Like, I haven't fully, finished a book and it's on my mind constantly at this point.
Yeah, it's one of those things where going forward, it's going to be, Azerite power and gear and experience and gold, and that's sort of what they go for, and that's the go-to for most, MMORPG kind of stuff out there.
Yeah.
I think one thing they tried this expansion a bit was like, hey, we'll throw like cooking recipes as rewards for things, and they've done that previously, but they're also like, we're going to have Nomi, and Nomi says you have to get 5 recipes from ways out there in the world in order to activate me to be able to use me. And so you had to do some questing
recipes.
Yeah. So it was encouraged a little bit more, but I feel like finding, and I guess this goes back to professions for me a bit, is finding those quest chains that really lead to a reward that, as John put it, is very unique. Isn't just more gear that you're going to replace, very shortly after you get it, which is sort of where the professions thing went for me, I guess, is you're unlocking learning how to actually produce different things and at a higher skill level, different things. And like that, they can sort of explore that in a much more unique way than, hey, thank you for saving me from the owls. Here's a fancy pair of boots. Like, that's great.
It's made out of owls.
That's right. It's made out of owls. Congratulations. I just feel like there's more creativity that can go into quest rewards as far as that stuff goes too. And I guess my big complaint about the quest that bothered me the most in this expansion is actually the repeatable quests that we get in Dalaran for things every week. I feel are very uninspired. So whether it's the hey, go out and complete 5 Cataclysm time walking dungeons, or hey, go out and do 5 PvP pet battles and win them, or like that. Those to me are neat, and they're great ways to give a reward to someone who's already planning on doing those things. But the actual what you get out of them really varied. So the pet battle one is one I've griped about a lot, and Ben, I know you're probably very familiar with this. For 40 tokens, you can get the reward. You get 40 pet battle tokens from 2 world quests, or like from doing almost just one mission, you can get 40 pet battle tokens to buy the reward, which is a level 1 pet to 25 token for doing 5 PvP pet battles, which you have to win them, and that alone can take some people like over an hour. Yeah, that's not that much fun.
You never know what you're coming up against, so you can't plan for it, and you just have to hope everybody's using the same 3 pets that you are strong against.
Yeah, so it's to me that was just the most uninspired reward. And I feel like that should have been looked at really early, because you're doing a pet battle bonus week thing. Like, do something cool. Like, hey, here's a chance to get a really rare pet out of a mystery bag, and maybe one of the things that comes out of the bag that's kind of like the I don't really want it prize is the level of pet 25 token.
Yeah,
but at least make it a bag and give you a chance to get something that's cool and rare. Like it just seemed odd to me. There's those sorts of rewards. So questing in general, John, I guess I agree that there is something that could be looked at for making going down, like really embracing the line of cosmetics and transmog and titles and like just really fun, unique rewards that aren't just gear based and power based.
Yeah.
So the funny thing is I don't know if I've told you or not, but I did the new Karazhan for the first time earlier.
Really?
Yeah, and I had a quest that I totally forgot that I had. And once I finished that quest, I turned it in, and I got this really cool new toy that I had no idea that it was even really the reward. So I pop it out, and I'm like, okay, cool, new toy. And then it turns out, hey, this is how you can watch any cinematic from Legion at all. And it was just an amazing thing. It's like, this is a really great reward for something that is just kind of, hey, go do this thing. And more things like that would be so appreciated by people who are just like, I'm just in the game to have fun.
Yeah, I don't understand how a game, I look at Heroes of the Storm, where it's, every match is reset. You're back at basics. You're going to go through the same X number of levels, roughly. You're going to go through the same things. You're picking characters and all of that. And I can be so much more intrigued by a loot box there than I am what I loot for quest rewards in a friggin' MMO that has gear and titles and mounts and transmog and toys and pets and all these multitude of things. I don't understand how they can fill one with stuff that I find intriguing and the other one I'm like, why is this only about making numbers go up? And look, I get it. There are a lot of people out there that love watching their numbers go up. My eye level went up. My agility score went up. My level went up. There are people out there that love to do that, and that's what drives them, and that's cool. But they have like a million ways in the game that need is facilitated. And for everybody else that's just like, I like this world, I like my character, I like the story, they need something to entice those people to keep going past the questing's now done. And that has always been where I start to fall off the game because, artifact power was decent, but it's still just watching a number go up. And this is a big game with a ton of stuff in it. They have so many things that they could give to us as players. And it boggles my mind that the reward structure is still armor, gold, maybe a mount, maybe a pet. That's the big rewards that you get. And now artifact power. They can't come up with anything else beyond that. And it's very, very difficult for me to not say, like, what else you got, guys? Because literally every other Blizzard game is finding a way to make loot interesting. You're the loot game, and you're having a hard time making loot interesting. So that's where kind of my issue has been, and that's why it's been so hard for me to get into raiding, to get into mythic dungeons. You know, Spencer mentioned earlier that was one of his favorite features. I think I ran... I probably ran a few, because I was for a while trying to actually do that artifact quest line that had you, I think, go through a mythic of just about everything by the time you were done.
Yeah.
I did do that. So I've done a decent amount of mythics, but as soon as I met the criteria for progressing that quest, I stopped doing it. It just is more work than I want to put into finding a group. You know, if I'm going to play with my friends, I want to just, let's get together. We don't have to worry about comp, class, whatever. Let's just get in and go do something fun and play a game. WoW has a few more restrictions and planning and all of that based around it, and that's fine. That's what that game is. So finding something else to be engaging and be rewarding has been challenging, and I think it doesn't have to be. And I think that's where my frustration sometimes kicks in.
Let me ask you this, John. And this is just kind of a harebrained idea that I have. So would you be more into, because, okay, well, sorry, I'm trying to think of the best way to put this. But first of all, if this is someone's first time ever listening to the episode, John, just refresh us.
Hates WoW.
No, just refresh. Do you like transmog?
I love transmog.
Okay. So the idea of getting more gear and everything, or more appearances, is something that you'd be interested in.
Right.
So I was thinking about it, and I mean, you mentioned heroes, and you know, I'm thinking of all the different things that heroes loot boxes offer, like, you know, skins, voice packs, sprays, all that stuff.
Right.
And I thought, well, okay, well, one of the ways that, you know, we can do skins is, you know, different armor and everything like that. And then I started thinking about how challenging is it actually to make an armor set? Because you make the design, but then you have to make versions for like every single race that would wear that sort of thing. So then you have, you know, instead of like, you know, a cool new skin for Thrall, you have a cool new skin for, let's see, how many races are we at? Like 15, 16, 17, something like that.
Right.
And I mean, they're different skeletal structures. So like even between like Night Elf and Blood Elf, there's going to be a size difference and stuff like that. So there's a lot more, you know, like work that goes into something like that versus like a skin for heroes. Because I mean, in heroes, those skins are amazing, and the detail that goes into them is just gorgeous and all that stuff. So what if we started doing more like race-based armor options? Like, I know that the heritage armor is a thing. You know, we've talked about it many times before, you know, like the Nightborn ones where it's cool except for weird feathers in places sometimes, and, you know, stuff like that. All the new races, they have like kind of cool looking armor. That's the whole point of leveling them from 200 to, or 200, from 20 to, you know, 110. But what if they started offering like, okay, as a Pandaren monk, this is something that you get, versus if I'm a Night Elf monk, you get an entirely different outfit for the same sort of gear, and then they just kind of switch up variations and everything like that. So it's more race based.
Now, I do not work for Blizzard, obviously.
Yeah, I know it's a huge amount.
I don't know how it necessarily works, but I believe that the way the armor is designed, that it will mold to the models that they have built. So they are not building a version of X armor for Worgen male and then rebuilding it for Worgen female. I believe they have a model that is dynamic enough to adhere to the skeletal structure. That's why all chest armor kind of looks and behaves the same. That's why we don't get pieces that have a lot of, you know, extra geometry that sticks out in different places all the time. That's why it pretty much stays the same across the board. That's my understanding of it. In fact, the moon boots that I'm so fond of in the game. My favorite transmog piece is anytime you get moon boots. My understanding that actually started as a scaling issue with a piece of the armor, and people liked it and they left it in. Again, I could be wrong, but that's what I remember hearing because it looked freaking weird on a couple classes. So
the shoulder pads are a great example of that, right?
Yeah.
Like it's that the size of shoulder pads on a Tauren versus the size of shoulder pads on a gnome, it's just literally is multiplied by a large amount. And I think that's a great example of what you're saying, John.
So I think that if you said, okay, well, let's get into individual race and or class mount design or armor designs, I think it actually works out to being more work than just putting in another set of armor. Now, that said, I love the idea, of course, because it's more transmog Ben, and I'm 100% on board with that all the time. Yay. I just don't know if it's necessarily a solution to, hey, this is a lot of work. I think it's giving them more work. But I'm okay with it because I like transmog.
Okay. I don't know. It was just something that hit. I thought, it'd be kind of neat. I like the idea of distinct differences between everything. Like, tier sets are cool and I like them and everything. And like, in fact, a tier 5 mage set is exactly what got me into playing mage in the very beginning. And I think it's great. I love the tier 5. It's amazing. I put on my Nightborn, doesn't look as good as it does on my Blood Elf. I don't know if it's just because of like the color contrasting or whatever, but I didn't get that feeling. So that's the set that I'm kind of going to be retiring, which I'm really sad about. But the idea of, just different geometry for the different races and stuff, I think is interesting. And it makes cooler looking, less generic stuff in my opinion anyway.
Oh yeah, for sure. Don't get me wrong. Like that would be my favorite thing. I would like nothing more than to see a wider variety of gear styles on characters. You, again, not to just constantly bring it back to Heroes of the Storm, but it's a good one-to-one, especially right now because they're doing the Warcraft event. I went in and I looked at all those skins, these Warcraft-themed skins, and I was just like, oh my gosh, why can't I make my WoW toon look like that? Like, you can get in the ballpark, but oh my gosh, I wish my WoW character could look like this. And it's because the models in Heroes don't have to adhere to the geometry rules that do apply in World of Warcraft. And I don't know what the solution is to that necessarily, but I would love to see it. I would love to see different design options for armor and gear and better capes and better all sorts of stuff in the game. I think that would be heaven for me. Like, that would be the expansion where everybody would be quiet, but you just hear me in the back going, yeah, you did it. So I'm all about it.
Okay. Well, I don't know. Any other ideas for, potential rewards before we get going tonight?
I think I would just leave it at that. One of the fun chats that we were fortunate enough to get was I talked with Gary Plattner a little bit, and he was saying that his biggest thing is they always have stuff ready for the game when an expansion launches that didn't make it into that expansion. Mm-hmm. And they always are excited for the next opportunity for that stuff to make it in. And I really hope that some of the problems that we're talking about as far as gearing goes and more interesting dynamic transmog that we can actually throw into the game is something that's along those lines. We saw stuff this expansion gear-wise that we've never seen before, like a flail that actually moves around for paladins is pretty cool. To have a dynamic weapon that is that versatile, and I'm really hoping that they just had like a box of things that they're like, can we get these in? They're like, nope, sorry, it's already going. We can't do that. That's going to be the next thing. The engine will be ready for the next thing, and you're like, ah. So I'm really hoping that BFA sort of surprises us with his box of goodies that he didn't get to put into this one.
Yeah, more quivers and extra like flair. That's all I want.
Okay.
That's one of the things that I'm sad about with my hunter. Like, I'm a Beastmaster hunter because I like pets. Who'd have thought? However, I love the marksman bow, the windrunner bow, because you get the quiver on your back. It's
Right.
just cool. But yeah, in the future going forward, totally going to be transmogging into that to get the quiver because it's a cool looking bow anyway. So yeah, that's all.
Cool.
Well, you know what? I think that's an episode.
That's an episode, you say?
Yes, I do say.
Oh.
It is. I don't know why I started talking like that, but Spencer, thank you very much for joining us tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you.
Well, thank you for having me on. It has been a pleasure talking with the two of you.
Aw, that's nice. Well, until next time you're on, where can people find you?
If you're looking for me, you can find me on Twitter at Spencer_Downey. You can also find me doing a World of Warcraft podcast called The Starting Zone, where we sort of recap what's going on this week in World of Warcraft. And as I said, we occasionally get some pretty fun guests to get on there and chat with them. We're fortunate enough to be able to pull that off. And it's fun. It's a good show. And then if you're trying to find me streaming stuff, I occasionally do that over on twitch.tv/SpencerHD.
Very cool. John, what about you? Where can people find you?
Well, nice of you to ask, Ben. If people want to find me, they can follow me on Twitter at John_Jagger. I'll let you know what I'm up to. Specifically, those things would include talking about Heroes of the Storm on Core. That's the Heroes of the Storm show I do, part of the Frog Pants Network. You can find out more about that at heroesforyou.com. And speaking of the Frog Pants Network, another little show I do is There Will Be Dungeons, which is the D&D 5th edition play podcast that we do. We stream that every Saturday at 2 p.m. Pacific time, and I would encourage you all to stop by and check out and see how things are progressing, or sometimes not progressing, or whatever might happen on that show, which is a lot.
I am really interested to see what happens this weekend.
Yeah, me too. So anyway, check that out. It's a lot of fun. I get to play Stanley Billings, who is a fine gentleman, and it's a good game.
Yes.
Ben.
Yes, John.
Where can people find you?
Well, the best place to find me is actually on Twitter as well. You can find me on Twitter at Ben the Mage. I do another show with Eludra called Battle Pets, where we speak about battle pets in the World of Warcraft. And new to podcast feeds, there's yet another Dungeons and Dragons show out there now.
What?
Yeah, believe it or not, I'm not doing this just because John's doing a D&D show, but I am actually on a brand new D&D show called Secrets of Talonguard. It is with me, Zafira, Draven Dresden, Eludra, Nevermore, and then Everick is actually the DM, and it's a think like kind of mid 1700s American colonization setting. It's pretty cool. I'm actually like totally digging the vibe on it. So check that out. Secrets of Talonguard, brand new. This show, though, Azeroth Roundtable, we have some really cool stuff to say. Like, remember that contest that we were having? Guess what?
I remember it.
Every single person who entered is getting a beta key because we got more beta keys than we got entries. So I am in the process of actually mailing those out to the winners. We have more beta keys left. So look, it's first come, first serve at this point. So send in a screenshot of your character in your favorite Horde or Alliance place, and first come, first serve, you will get a beta key.
Until we're out.
Yeah, I think we've got like 5 or 6 more to give out, something like that. So enter early, well, not often, just early.
No, often doesn't help you.
Oh, okay.
You don't get more keys the more times you enter? That's not how this works?
No, because, I mean, you can only really get in there once.
Well, apparently they're not as sought after as we thought they were, because we basically said last week, hey, you're almost guaranteed to get one. We have enough to give away. And we got more entries.
Yeah, but still not enough.
Yeah, so
definitely make sure to send that in. Send those screenshots to AzerothRoundtable@gmail.com. That's all the stuff you need. I'm sending them out to the winners. So if you're listening right now and you entered and you haven't gotten one, don't worry, it's on its way. But other than that, this show, you can find us on Twitter. We are at AzerothRT. I just mentioned our email address, but if you're looking for past episodes, like let's say this is your first time and you like it, I don't know why, you can always join us at AzerothRoundtable.com on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, a bunch of other different places that have podcasts because, we try to throw ourselves out there. But other than that, John, is there one other thing you need to mention?
Sure. This show is brought to you by the fine people who listen to it, specifically those who go to patreon.com/AzerothRT and support us. So first off, I want to give a big shout out to our newest patrons. The first is just known as S, which is terribly mysterious, and I like
Mr.
it.
Miss S.
And then the second is Stephen M. So thank you to both of you for being our newest patrons. Stephen M. specifically decided to join the Murloc Club, so is going to get another shout out right here as I thank our Murloc Club members, Stephen M., Chris B., Frasley S., Kryn, Haster, Mimi H., Aaron, and Simon. Thank you for being part of the Murloc Club. Thank you, Ben. Once again, if you want to support the show, patreon.com/AzerothRT.
Yep. Thanks again, Spencer, for joining us. Chat room, you were awesome. I saw you speaking up, and I tried to interact a little bit with you in there. And until next time, play dress up in WoW and be good to each other. Bye, everybody.
I always play dress up in WoW.
And you look fierce.
#fierce.
There we go. That's an episode.
Great.
Yay! Episode. Raise the roof. What?
It was fun.
It's good we ended before that.
Yeah, I know. Too bad we're still recording the video.
Well, it's too bad they didn't see it.
I'm glad. Spencer, thank you very much for joining us. It's a blast.
It is fun. I totally dig it. I enjoy breaking away from our standard structured format whenever I can.
It's the mass amounts of chaos that is nothing here.
We certainly do that.
And pretty much every other show that we end up guesting on and taking part in is a little bit less structured than ours, which always surprises me because I'm like, man, we really do run like a tight ship apparently, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with either way you do it. People dig whatever it is, but it was just one of those crazy things where I'm like, man, not having notes and not having to prepare and not having that's cool. I just just sort of go with it. That's fine.
That's our every week.
Yeah. I mean, well, it just ultimately, I don't know, it genuinely wasn't, although it seems like the logical answer, that it was just us being lazy and not wanting to do notes anymore. But but it really came from just, Ben and I sat down during one of the many times that we've sat down to reevaluate how the show works and runs, because I get antsy and I change it up on him, and Ben will do the same show for forever, and I will change the show every week if given the opportunity. So we try to keep ourselves slightly balanced in that regard. And
say forever, I change when we need to.
Well, at least I'm honest about how I am. So, but we sat there and said, well, our goal for the show was always just a casual conversation about WoW, and what better way to kind of force that than to say we're not going to dedicate ourselves to talking about anything.
And that's why sometimes Dragon Ball Z comes up.
Yeah.
More often than you'd think.
Hey, every now and then you got to go and look up YouTube's best Kamehamehas and just, let them play through the culminated clips because they're just cool. That's fine.
Yeah, look, YouTube is a dangerous place for things. Let's see where I'm at right now on this. I want to check something. I am currently 56 minutes and 18 seconds. I don't know if I have an hour 54 left to go, or this is of a hour 54.
It's probably
video.
Of an hour 54.
Yeah, so of an hour 54 of all fatalities from MK1 to MKX.
Yep. Those compilations, man, they'll get you for a long time.
Yeah. And then the whole what's next bar, I am so guilty of that.
Yeah, this is
Like,
the
oh, yeah.
result of a what's
Okay.
next.
Click.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Click. Oh my gosh. I just saw that. Okay, so there's a couple, I don't know, shows, if you want to use quotes, that I really like, and they are part of Funny or Die. Like, Zach Morris's Trash is a great one. Also, A Very Special Episode is pretty good. Basically, A Very Special Episode goes through and does like sitcoms from the 80s, how they always had like a very special episode of this happening. It's
Yeah.
like a subject matter. Apparently, 14 hours ago, they just posted the first episode of season 2, which is A Very Special Episode, The Alf, where he dated a blind woman.
Great.
I'm looking.
Okay. I can
No.
see how that works, though, right? Like, Alf
yeah.
would, being an alien, would need to date a blind woman. That's part of the deal, just for him to be able to, be himself without having to worry about being discovered, right?
Till he
Yep.
eats her cat.
Yeah, that would be bad.
So
That
looking forward to that
Was
one.
not a euphemism.
Oh, but
Wow.
yeah. So the Zach Morris's Trash, good stuff. Highly recommend it. If you have fond memories of Saved by the Bell, maybe don't watch it, because I didn't realize how much of a trash person Zach Morris actually is.
Hmm.
I mean, it's the basis of the entire show, of course. But yeah, good show.
But yeah, YouTube. It's a hive of scum and villainy, but sometimes you fall down interesting, fun rabbit holes.
Yeah, just don't read the
Right.
comments.
I remember, I think it was just before we left to dinner, I read an article that was like, this party full of YouTube personalities went out of control, and I was like, well, geez, weird. I've never known anybody as a personality on YouTube to be over the top and potentially problematic. I can't imagine
Yeah.
a whole group of them got out of control. How odd.
Who would have thought?
The big news on Twitch today was people getting banned for using copywritten music on their stream channels. It was not permabanned; it was 24-hour temp bans.
Yeah, I saw something about that from who was it? It wasn't Celestalon, was it?
I
don't
know Lore was talking
Sorry,
about it,
Lore-
and Taryn Gregory was also talking about it.
Yeah, but hey, it's got to happen at some point.
We
That's
might
when they're-
get it. I play music before and after the show. Most of it is Blizzard, not all of it, and it hasn't always been. But hey, they can ban this channel for 24 hours. It takes a week before we come back live again, so ban away.
It's a curious thing to me to see reactions, right? To me, it's one of those cases of, if you're a truck driver for a living and you're speeding on the highway and you get pulled over by the police, you don't really have a right to complain that the police pulled you over on the highway when everyone else is speeding. Sure, everyone else is speeding, but they pulled you over and you got caught doing it. You
Yeah.
just sort of have to swallow that. That's just kind of, it was an interesting day on Twitch for me, because I just found there was a lot of people who were like, man, why me? Why did this happen to me?
Right.
Why couldn't this happen to all those other people? Why weren't this? And you're like, it's not a reason. You were doing something that was not okay. It's against the law. They chose to, flex their muscles and say, hey, guess what? We can stop you from doing this. You might want to cut back on it a bit.
Yeah, but
And now you're complaining.
was the evil laugh really necessary?
I mean, it's one of those things, and I actually, because I was talking to Taryn Gregory about it, and
Yeah.
he said, like, he's like, at the end of the day, you are breaking a law. Like,
Yep.
it doesn't matter the circumstances. And my response, and this is kind of how I feel about it, is I totally get that, and I agree with that, and I don't think people should be seeing these bans and getting upset about it. That said, I do feel like we could all maybe get together and find a way to make this profitable for everybody. Like,
Yeah.
like, we're in a place, the world is changing, the music industry more than any other industry hates to change and evolve. So I don't think anything is going to happen, but I feel like there is a solution where everyone could benefit from this, and instead of figuring that out, everybody's going to just be upset, and there's going to be legal actions and stuff like that, and I just feel like it's a place that we could evolve as people and get to a better spot.
Yeah, it's something that, I mean, we've had broadcasting rights for decades, so it's been around for a long time. Twitch is sort of trying to catch up with that in the sense that they, there's a couple of, like Monster Cat is one of them. There's a couple of music producers who've said, hey, $5 a month, you can play all our music you want for free. None of your VODs will get muted. You just have to, sign this little contract saying you're not going to use it for commercial purposes. You're just using it for your streaming purposes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And, you're good to go. And there's a couple other providers too that have signed on in the last 2 years to do a similar thing. It's just the issue of people like playing their Spotify over their Twitch. And you're like, yes, but you don't own those music rights.
Yeah, that's kind of a something you might want to think about.
Yeah, but again, it is strange that I can pull up Spot, and I get that it's different when you're broadcasting it, but we live in a world where you can pull up Spotify and play whatever you want, basically. Yeah. And it seems strange to me that, the example I used, although this is different from Twitch, this is a different situation, but I got in trouble for all my playthrough videos of Fallout because every time I walked past a radio, it got flagged. And so, I feel like there are issues on both sides of this where it's like, come on, you're designed to play games, and I'm literally getting in trouble for playing a game because this is the way the game was built. So it's tough, it's tricky. But I feel like, once again, there's a situation there. Like I feel like Spotify could jump on it. I feel like they could set up a broadcaster tier and find some way to incorporate it into the stream. Like, okay, if you pay this tier and you incorporate it, we will handle the rights portion and we'll do this. It's a lot to figure out. It's a lot of companies involved, but I think it probably would be worth it and probably better than a bunch of people just getting upset all the time or acting like, why did this happen to me? That happened to you because you're doing something you shouldn't be doing. That's the answer. Yeah. Which we're about to do when we end this, and I play music. So...
Oh, no, not music.
Yep, it's going to happen. Breaking the law. We're going to do it.
Breaking the law. Nice.
And it's not WoW music. I can see what's queued up. It's not WoW music.
Oh, no.
Yep.
What? Can we get a hint?
It is from a popular game that came out this year.
Oh, God of War, huh?
It is God of War. Yes.
It's a good game.
Yeah.
I recommend.
Safe, though. You won't get in trouble for that. Most games do not get muted for game music.
Yeah, and I think that's nice. I think that speaks again to the understanding and the progressiveness of the video game companies where they're like, no, we get this. Having this out there helps us. This is all good stuff. It's why we're sitting on a screen that's showing World of Warcraft cinematics for our World of Warcraft podcast right now. Like... Yeah.
I gotta say, Blizzard's really good about that.
Blizzard is very good about that because they see the benefit that can be had from it. It does get a little trickier when I am now going to go and play Beyonce and other such artists while I play this video game.
Yeah.
So,
well, Beyonce is totally key to the World of Warcraft experience. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
I mean, does she do the Put a Ring on It song? Is that...
Yes. I like that you were just like ready to go, though. You're like, I have a joke. I'm not 100% sure it works. Let me just confirm it before I cue it up.
In Warcraft needs to put a ring on it. In fact, 2, and then you get them enchanted.
Good job, Ben. And it worked. Because, yes, she does that song.
Yay!
All right, folks. Well, we're going to make that a show. Before we break the law by playing some music. Actually, Spencer's right. That'd probably be fine. But I still have my Spotify open, and we're still going to do this.
Don't worry. You're still a bad dude, John.
Yeah, check out this open rebellion. It's going to happen right now.
Oh, man.
The man can't bring us down.
And if he does, we won't know because it'll be a week later until we get on the stream again.
Yeah, go ahead. Ban us for 24 hours. We'll see you
recording
in a week.
On Thursday next week, guys.
Oh, right. Well, it's fine.
Yeah, whatever. It's still after 24 hours.
6 days.
Take that, Twitch.
We'll show you. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. You have a fantastic weekend. We will see you in less than a week this time.
Bye, everybody.